Hey guys, Dewey here. What we're going to work on is the assembly of the Eventorbot. What I have here, the tools that I'm going to need, or you're going to need, we have a tape measure. This is to measure the holes and the wires to cut it, and to define the screws, the linear rods, cut the belt or whatnot. We have a set of Allen wrenches here. Just standard pliers, needle nose pliers, wire cutter, this is for the wires, and just Phillips tip, 1032 socket tip, flathead, 1032 nut socket, and just two of these. I'm going to also, just for my convenience, I'm going to use one of these also. It's just a little drill. The first thing I did was the polarity of the steppers. Just basically changing it. How you do that is simply, I'm using a safety pin here. This is a safety pin. This is the stepper motor here. Like I stated before, the yellow one stays in place. As of right now, the yellow one's going to be on my far left, which is over here. And I'm going to disconnect the blue, green, and red. Those three are the far ones on the right. So what I simply do is I just kind of push down with the pin in these four holes here. You could just push down, kind of slant it a little, bend the pin, and you should be able just to pull the wire out, just like that. Now I'm doing the green one. I just did the blue one on the far right. I'm going to do the green one. Green one's out. And now the red one. Bend it down like that. This one's not working. Oh, it's out. Okay, this one just needs a little bit of repair here. Alright, and there we have it. The three wires that we need to change the sequence of is out. So now that the yellow is on our far right, the correct sequence, the next one should be blue. So it will be yellow, blue, blue. You'll hear a snap when you stick it in there. Red and green. Again, yellow stays in place. Alright, so we have the yellow far left, then the blue, then the red, and then the green far right. So these are done. I already took these out, so I just need to arrange them again. We have blue, red, green. Blue, red. You'll hear a little snap in green. That's two motors down. And one more motor. Blue, red, green. It's going from yellow. Yellow, blue, red, green. Yellow being the far left. Second thing I did was the switches for the axis. We have, let's put this safety pin back. Here we go. The lengths for the wire, I believe X and Y, the lengths for the X and Y wire for the switches is 25 inches. And for the, wait, that makes no sense. Oh no, Z and Y is 25 inches. And for the X, it's 30 inches. Because that's the farthest axis away from the motherboard. This is all tangled up here. What happened? Oh well. So basically I just connected the two ends to the switch there. Soldering was kind of hard. If you leave the tip on too long, it's gonna melt this plastic part here, and this metal piece here kind of gets loose and it could fall out. So what I did was I just kind of wrapped the wire around it and then just heat shrinked it around it. But for the polarity of the wire, it's gonna be the 3-pin that was included in the motherboard box. The 3-pin housing. Each wire goes on the opposite end. The farthest to the left and the farthest to the right. The middle one, we do not do anything to it. So it'll look like this. One far left and one far right. Oh, just untangle these when it comes time to. Alright, let's get to the build. The first thing I'm going to do is the legs for the Eventorbot. We're going to do all the stuff that goes on the outside first, and then we'll start working on the axis or whatnot. Footings. These are the footings here. One will go like this. Let's do this one first. These screws are, I believe, 1032 1/4" 1032 1/4" for, yep, 1032, not 1/4", 3/4". So there's going to be one. It's going to be for all 8 of them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So let me find the 1032 1/4". In the screws, you're going to have the biggest screw you'll see. The biggest one in diameter is going to be the 3/8", which is just a set screw. It's black. And there's only 2 of them. There's, I believe, 4, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 16ths, which is the next one, which looks like this. And then the next largest ones are your 1032 screws. Those are the most common one that you would find in this kit, because majority of the parts are connected by 1032 screws, so you should have no problem finding it. Let me just, this looks like the 3/4 here. I'm just going to confirm it with the tape measure, and yes, it is what I did. So I found one. I'm just going to go ahead and find the rest of the 8, just match it up with this screw here. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope. That looks like a 1-inch one. Nope, 1 inch. 7, 8. You know what? I'll find the rest of them also, just so I don't have to sort them out later. These are all socket heads. 1032 stainless steel socket heads. Found a couple, so I'm just going to put these off to the side so I know these are 1032 3/4. Just going to leave it over here. We're going to need the 8 rubber footing that's in the hardware bag. These things here. And the 1032 lock nuts. So those are also the most common lock nuts. I think there's 20. Is there 20? There is 20, yeah, 20 1032 lock nuts, and I believe 4 440 and 4 832. So this is obviously a 1032 lock nut because it fits right into the screw. So we need a couple of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you could definitely tell what screw is screw and what nut is nut from the size of it. So we have 8 there. So let's begin. we're going to need the rubber footing. So it's going to go in like this. You don't have to tighten this down all the way tight. I mean, the weight of the machine itself is going to keep the rubber footing in place. We should have done this first. Let's do this for both of the feet first. We'll do this first here. Rubber footing into the outside of the foot on both sides. And we'll do that to both foot. With the 1032 3/4 inch screw. And then these are also secured down by lock nuts. These 4 here. Yep, lock nuts. So let's just put that in place. That in place. Push this back so it's more towards the middle. Alright, now let's tighten it. I have one of these. Let's use this. This is the 1032 socket for the nut, and then this is a 1032 socket for the screw. So I'm just going to tighten these down. Alright, let's do wrong way. This, now let's put the 3/4 screw in here. This is also going to be 1032 3/4 with the lock nut. Oh, that's the footing. You guys can't see that. Alright, let's bring it closer, maybe. Okay, so I just put the foot on there. Put the 1032 screws in the footing, just like that. Push it through the hole. We have enough thread, just a little bit. We need our lock nuts. Let's just screw it on for now by hand. And see, this right here is already good enough. You don't need to go too much on it. Like I said, the machine will hold most of it down. There'll be some crucial parts to this build. The next one is a crucial part. For this one over here, because our Z motor is going to be sitting right here, we're going to use the same screw. It's going to be the 3/4 one, 1032 3/4. But we're going to use just the standard nuts. Instead of the lock nut, we're using the standard nut. The standard nut is over here. These are the lock nuts here. So we're just going to use the standard nut for this. Got the footing again. So the last two. Just right in there. Screw it down a little bit. So we have some thread down there. And this one, you do not want the threads to, you want the thread to barely pass the nut just a little bit. That way the thread is not sticking out so much and it's hitting against our Z motor. So right now, it's pretty good actually. And you know, these rubber foot are not going anywhere. We just reverse this and bring it back. This will go out a little bit more. There we go. So our footing's done. The next thing we're going to do is the spool holder, which goes right in the middle of these two holes. These screws are going to be ½ inch, 1032 also, but ½ inch. We're going to need two of them. So let me find the ½ inch one with the tape measure. Is this the ½ inch? This is the 3/4. Here's the ½ inch. Is that ½ inch? Looks like ½ inch. So I got two ½ inch, and it's also held down with lock nuts. This is ½ inch. Come on. I think there's only two ½ inches in here, so this one's ½ inch. Here it is. It wasn't even on the thing. What's this? 3/8. Here's the ½ inch. Yep. So I got the two. We'll grab the spool holder, which is this. The spool holder. We'll put the bolts in here like this. Just like that. You can see it. Put it in like that. There's two 1032 lock nuts. There's another one. Alright. Tighten it. Pretty leveled there. The next thing is going to be our motor bracket for the extruder. For the extruder motor bracket, for the screws for it, it's going to be the only 1032 that has the hex. I believe it's also ½ inch. Yeah, ½ inch hex bolt. So let me find the other one. Hex head like that. Put it through these. I'm just putting it through these holes here. You can see it. So these two things are sticking out here. We're going to take our motor bracket. It's going to be facing that way, just like that. And these are also, I believe, lock nuts. It's a lot harder to do things with lock nuts, but you know, once it's secured, it's down. So just take your time doing it. It'll be better. So just put it on for now. And I will use one of the pliers. Switch this up. I'm going to use one of the pliers to hold down the screw while I'm tightening the nut there. I just used that. Really tighten it. Kind of just level it. You could just do it by eyeball. It's not important. It's more for looks than anything. Tighten. Let's bring this up a little bit. Alright, that's good. Well, this might be easier. Should be easier. There you go. So that's in. Let's do the hose connector in like that, and you would have a 10mm nut. It's the biggest nut that's out there. It's the biggest nut in the hardware list. So I'm just going to screw this down into it. And just tighten it over here. It's pretty tight. What else? Let's do this here. The belt tightening thing, contraption for the x-axis. It's the only 1032, or it's a 5/16 screw. It's the second biggest one for the x-axis. The first thing we'll need is a 1" in diameter washer. It's the biggest one we have. The second one will be 11/16 in diameter, which is the second biggest one. We'll need a ball bearing. Ball bearings like this. There will be 3 in the kit. All 3 are the same. We'll need another 11/16 and another 1" one, and it'll be like that so far. Now we will also need 2 jam nuts. 2 jam nuts and a standard 5/16 nut. So I believe there's only one 5/16 nut, which will screw right directly into this, and 2 jam nuts. The difference between the jam nuts, it's about 3/4 of the size of the standard 5/16 nuts. So the 2 jam nuts is smaller in height than the standard one. So we'll screw down the 2 jam nuts onto this thing here. That's 1 jam nut. Here's the second one. And after you have the second one in, just push it up there and go like that. And now, well, let's do the motherboard. Let's do the motherboard. Alright, motherboard. Here's the motherboard. We have the motherboard right here. We need our nylon standoffs. These are pretty obvious to locate. They're just these cylinder things. They look like plastic that the motherboard will sit on. We'll need 440 screws. These are the smallest one that has the socket head to it. So there's going to be 8 of them total, I believe. No, there's going to be 12 total. So let's grab, I'll show you in a little bit. We have these 4 here with the flat head. It's kind of tapered in like this. If you can see it, it's kind of beveled in, so that way it could kind of sit flush onto, this is what goes on top to secure the motherboard down. Kind of just sits flush down into that motherboard there. So I have 4 of those. And then let's just say the standard one, which is looks like this. It has a round top. It's a socket head. Round top, 440. Another way to find out if it's 440 or not, just you can screw it into the nylon tube or the standoffs, because these are tapped standoffs. I just need another 3 of those. 1, 2, 3, and the other 4 is to actually secure the motherboard into the frame. So what we're going to do first is, let's put the nylon onto the motherboard. Just like that. Like I stated before, the only problem that you would have is probably distinguishing the 440 screws to the M3 ones. The 440 has a socket head, the M3 has a Phillips head. So these nylon standoffs are in. This one I might need a Allen for. Just like that. Let's just tighten this down. Tighten this down. And the other one here. That's what it looks like. We have our 440s through the metal plate into screwing on into the nylon standoffs. Just like that. And the motherboard will just sit right on top of it, just like this. USB port is right here. So it just sit right there. Yeah, in the future, I would like to explore with other boards, and the only thing we'll have to change is just this tray. So that would be no problem. We could either print it, or I could have the metal manufacturer do it for us. So that's not a big problem. Couple companies, this company sent me a Eventorbot board, and I just haven't had time to test that out, but once I have time to do that, we could do that. There's also another company that sent me one. They actually sent it to me overnight. It's a really nice looking board actually, LCD control. It's a little bit more expensive, but it looks like it's capable of doing more things than this board could do. But like I said, if we want to upgrade the board, there'll be no problem. We'll just print a new motherboard tray or have the manufacturer make one for us. So I'm just putting these 440 screws in the motherboard here just to secure it down. Hope I'm not jumping the gun here. That should be good. Let's just put it here. If we need to take it out later, we can take it out. No big deal. And I think the next thing we're going to do is probably work on the X-axis. Alright, this is done.